This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday morning, and it's gorgeous. So now, I guess, Memorial Day weekend here in upstate state New York. A little stormy here yesterday, but it's a beautiful day, going to be a beautiful day today. And we certainly want to, give our thoughts and prayers out this holiday weekend, this Memorial Day weekend, to those who did give the ultimate sacrifice to this country. It's still a great country, but we just there's some things that we gotta get straight, man. But it has nothing to do with those that have given their life for this country. So thank you to all of them, and we remember them on this weekend. Tomorrow is the day, obviously. Good morning, Alan. How are you today? We say hi to everybody that we're live this morning with on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. We'll be on Roku. This show will be rebroadcast plausibly live, I guess, as it were, on Roku at noon. Get those Roku devices installed, guys. We're really growing leaps and bounds in installs, and it's really helping the network grow and TGI Sports Talk grow. So, and we're here live on Northeast Streaming Sports, if I didn't mention that before. And also, by the way, after the fact, if you're in the car and you can't listen to the show, you can certainly listen to us on all the podcast outlets with iHeartRadio and Spotify and pretty much anything you can think of. So please join us there. Alan's doing good out in Oklahoma. That's good. Rundown today. We'll have Jim Biringer on from the Last Word on Hockey and Mad Radio, and also the fullpresshockey.com. Make sure you get there and check out if you're a hockey fan, you need to be subscribed to fullpresshockey.com. Great online avenue for hockey news, and Jim Biringer is a huge part of that. He'll be on to talk about the NHL playoffs, the Rangers going to Game 7 with another great performance last night with their backs to the wall, which is where they seem to play their best, and we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about the champions not going away, sweeping the Panthers off the ice, and also the Western Conference Finals are set with Edmonton. And Jim had a big article about Edmonton and their key contributors that you might want to check out as we move towards. I can't find the article now. I apologize. I don't know where there it is. The Oilers duo of Connor McDavid, who's been tremendous through this playoffs, and Leon, his name I will butcher, Draisaitl. I know I'm wrong, and we'll let Jim straighten us out there. But he's got a great article about them and some other stuff throughout the playoffs, so check that out. We'll talk some baseball, and yes, Alan, I will give your Texas Rangers some props as they are playing much better baseball, getting some great pitching, and playing and moving up in the West. How about the Rangers? Nice segue, Alan, to get me talking about your Rangers. No, I promise you we'll talk about them a little bit. We'll talk a bit about Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Warriors have already wrapped up their visit to the finals with an impressive 5-game victory. The Warriors look really tough, and this is going to be an exciting series, whoever gets there. And I expected the Celtics to wrap this up in Game 6 at home the other night, and they couldn't do it. Listen, Eric Spoelstra, I've said this forever, is a very underrated coach with the Heat. He's been there a long time now and was in the shadow of Pat Riley for the longest time, but this guy can coach. Let's not forget that. What else are we going to talk about? We'll go around the NFL a little bit as well. Oh, back to baseball. We're going to talk about Gil Hodges getting his number retired by the Dodgers, and I want to talk a bit about his Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame, voted in by the Veteran Committee or whatever we're calling it these days. Great player, great manager, great person. His Hall of Fame candidacy, I'm not so sure about, but we'll see where that goes, how that conversation goes today. So we'll talk about all of that and some NFL news probably as well. And I do not believe Mark Mancini will be joining us today as he is on the road broadcasting who's playing San Diego and San Francisco game. I think he's got to cover that game for Sirius Radio today. Without further ado, as I see Jim is here, we're going to bring Jim in. But before I do that, let me just yes, we know the Rangers are playing well, Alan. I promise you we'll get to that. And we're going to talk about the other Rangers first, though, as we bring in Jim Biringer from the Last Word on Hockey on Mad Radio and FullPressHockey.com. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. As we're winding down here, getting to the nitty gritty of the conference finals or close to it, the Western Conference set, the Rangers playing really well last night in game 6. They can't play unless their backs to the wall, apparently, and they're going to have to find a way to win on the road. But we'll talk about all of that and whatever else we need to be talking. I know you had an article up about the Oilers duo here, which we'll talk a little bit about as well. And guys, catch that article and all of Jim's articles out on Full Press Hockey. Great site for hockey news. And Jim is, as I said, a major contributor there. So good stuff, Jim.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, good to be here Sunday morning talking some hockey. Conference finals just around the corner. Western Conference final begins Tuesday night in Colorado. The Edmonton Oilers.
Was she just sitting there right next to her? You give her a cue. I'm on. What goes on here? I don't know what's going on here.
No, I don't say anything. There's no secrets given on this show. Sorry. But as I said, the Western Conference final begins Tuesday in Colorado. Avalanche Oilers. That's going to be a fun series. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are just awaiting Carolina and the Rangers.
I mean, that story in itself, and maybe we'll start with the defending champions and then move to the Rangers, because I have to give them their due. We've talked about this before. They had some struggles on and off the season. They weren't as consistent as maybe they've been before, but they started to hit their stride before the playoffs, and they're obviously in full stride now after sweeping the Panthers off the ice in 4 games. I mean, what's your overview of this entire series?
It came down to special teams to me. I said it before the series. I'll say it after the series. Tampa Bay Lightning scored more power play goals than the Florida Panthers did. Florida Panthers power play was 1 for 30 in the playoffs. The mistakes they got away with against the Washington Capitals, they were not going to be able to get away with against the Tampa Bay Lightning. If Washington was able to hold the lead in game 4 and 5, the Panthers aren't even into the second round of the playoffs. But they allowed them to get back and gain momentum. The Lightning were not going to do that. Once they had the lead, they were just going to grind it out. And the series was over after Hagel scored with 3.8 seconds left in game 2. Florida played their best game in game 4. Yeah, they scored a power play goal in game 3, but they were not beating Tampa Bay. Just some weird bounces, back-to-back coaches' challenges in game 4. But when Andre Vasilevsky is going to put like that in closeout games, I mean, think about it. Going back to 2020, guy's 7-0 with 6 shutouts. I mean, like, if he's going to be stopping 17 shots in the first period and nothing's going to go in, even though Florida was not going to win that game if Vasilevsky's dialed in like that. And look, recent history has shown that, teams sweeping, don't do too well in the next round, except I'm going to say that they're not the defending Stanley Cup champions who have played a lot of hockey, and we have seen that the rest for them has done them well over the last couple of years, especially like going into the bubble and then last year's run. And now the fact that they're going to get Braden Point back only makes their team even more dangerous. So their injuries that there were to guys, they can rest a little bit. Yes, you lose a little bit of the game speed, but they'll be able to find it real quick because this team is really good.
I mean, what are they going to have? Like a week off before the conference final starts?
I think it's over 9 days. It'll be like 9 days since
9 days.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, that can be a blessing or a curse. I think with a team as seasoned as the Lightning, as you said, I don't think it's going to be. I think it's only helpful for them. Some other team it may not be good for, but
no, other teams it may not be good for. But team like the Lightning, they're seasoned in this area. There's a reason why they won back-to-back cups.
Yeah. Let's jump into the Rangers. Look at it's been amazing. This team has been really kind of Jekyll and Hyde through this whole series. I mean, they seem to play better with their backs to the wall. They haven't won a game on the road in this series anyway, and they're going to have to, obviously. Is it tomorrow night? Probably back in Carolina. So can they pull this off? Well, let's talk about Game 6, and can they pull this Game 7 out on the road? Last night's game, I thought the turning point, Jim, and you can tell me certainly early in or midway maybe through the second period, Carolina, I think, was down 2-0. They had a power play, and they ended up getting 2 shots on goal. I don't think they were from 40 feet away, I think, both of them. I know you could call them a shot on goal. So the penalty killing part of the Rangers was just tremendous last night, I thought, and maybe throughout this playoff.
I mean, to me, the turning point was in the first period. Sebastian Aho has a breakaway in on Shesterkin. He doesn't score, and the Rangers go the other way and score, make it 1-0.
Good point. Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a turning point in the game. I mean, obviously, Carolina's power play has to be better. For some reason, this team cannot play on the road this year. This is the first time ever that a team has gone 0-6 in their first 6 road games. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. This team is so good on home ice. I mean, the last time I saw a team like this bad, I mean, I remember New Jersey in 2003. They were 4-7 on the road, but they were 12-1 at home. I mean, they still won 4 road games, but granted, they didn't win a road game against Anaheim, and they probably should have swept the Ducks out of the playoffs that year, the way that team was built. But still, I mean, they got to figure out a way to win a road game. And say they get by the Rangers in Game 7, which this is a homer series, but the Rangers have proven they could play in Carolina, unlike the other way around. So It's really a 50-50 game. But say Carolina does win. You're telling me you're going to play the same way like this against Tampa? I don't think so. No. Tampa will beat you in 6 games, 5 games at most. You're not doing that against Tampa. You can't, because they'll beat you, and they know how to win on the road. They don't. They've shown it. So something has to change. Their PK's been horrible on the road. Their power play's been horrible on the road. Last night was the first time Antti Raanta looked tired in these playoffs. You got to wonder if Freddie's ready to go. Does he come in for Game 7, or do they ride it because they played so well on home ice? I mean, it's just a weird thing, and the Rangers haven't lost a home game since Game 1 of the Pittsburgh series.
Right.
And they just look so dominant, and yeah, they have this stat that, they faced playoff elimination and they do so well. It also is not a misleading stat, because the stat is the stat, but if you go back to the Pittsburgh series this year, I mean, you come 2-goal deficits in, all 3 games you come back in deficits in, and Pittsburgh knows how to hold the lead and play defense. They're not in this position that they're in. So a lot of factors going their way. Shesterkin's played a lot better. They're getting depth scoring. Their defense is playing better, but it's got to translate into Carolina. Outside of Game 1, they have not shown up.
Yeah, and Igor's definitely straightened himself out at the right time after some struggles early in that Pittsburgh series. He's really been really outstanding. Even in the games they've lost on the road, he's played well. They just have not put the puck in the net, and they're going to have to do that come tomorrow night. They can't, it's going to be a shame to go out and lose this game, 2-1 or 1-0, because they didn't put the offense on the board and support his great play right now. He's playing well again last night, right? I think I would think he's the MVP of the series for the Rangers, but you can make that call better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, they give out MVP awards for the series. Yeah, most likely he's the MVP. Maybe he's a Benajad as well with, goal the way he's been playing. We could even say one of the, like Andrew Kopp or Tyler Mott, one of the guys they brought in at the deadline. But yeah, Igor's giving him a chance to win. And think about it, the series might be over if in Game 1 Kakko hits an open net.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
It's a different series. Outside of Game 1, the Rangers have not shown up in Carolina. Carolina, for some reason, plays different. They're going to come out aggressive. They were playing a lot better towards the end of the second half of Game 6, especially when they were able to make it 4-2. If they were able to get a late goal in the second period to make it 4-3 going into the third, it's a different game, but they weren't. Rangers were able to answer right away. So, look, it's a toss-up game to me, Game 7. You kind of, obviously always you favor the home team in this one, just the way the way the pattern's gone. But we'll see. It's going to be definitely a close game.
Are you willing to make a prediction right here, right now, Jim?
I think Carolina wins on home ice.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. I'm afraid you're going to go that way. I got to stick with the Rangers, obviously, but that's a heart bet more than a head bet, obviously, based on what we've seen here. So we'll see how it goes. Now, past that, obviously, it sets up. What the heck is going on here? Hold on. I got some music playing. I don't know why. Bear with me a second. I don't know if anybody can hear that but me, but it drives me crazy. It sets up a great series. Well, maybe a great series with Tampa Bay. Maybe not. The way they're playing, obviously, they could maybe blow both of these teams off the ice. I don't know. I would love to see the Rangers get a chance to take on the defending champions and see how much they've grown here through these first two series. What are your thoughts on the potential matchups here? I know you gave a little bit of a preview into the potential Hurricane Lightning.
I would say Lightning will definitely be favored in that, even though the Rangers have home ice again. Lightning know how to win on the road. No, these teams are two evenly matched teams. Rangers have played well against Tampa this year. Igor's played well. Vasilevsky's Vasilevsky. He is who he is. The Lightning and Rangers both have really quality depth players, but it's going to be coming down to experience. And when it comes down to crunch time and playing defense, and the Rangers, yes, they have an aggressive PK. The Lightning power play could make you pay. Got to stay out of the penalty box if you get there, and if you don't have a lead and the Lightning have a 1 or 2 goal lead, you know what they're doing. They're playing defense. They're blocking shots. They're going to make sure nothing gets through, and that's how they're going to win a hockey game. So the Rangers you don't want to make it a track meet, but you're going to have to learn to play some better defense. Yeah, because they've, especially 5-on-5, because they're getting lucky against some of these teams.
Yeah, a Rangers Lightning series would be an interesting matchup of the chiseled veterans on the Lightning side and the kid line on the Rangers side. It'll be very interesting to see how that goes. I think. Yeah. I mean, from a viewership standpoint, or what the league would like to see, I got to believe they want to see Rangers against the Lightning. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I would think so too. I mean, the Rangers are the most watched series in the playoffs. I mean, they're the highest rated team left in the league. I mean, I would, if I was the league, I would want them there too. But you got to play Game 7 first before you get there.
Yeah, let me say a quick good morning. Billy said good morning earlier, and I did get your Top Gun reference there in the last comment. Into the danger zone, Billy. I did get that because actually, before we go see, and I'm get off topic a little bit, before we go see Maverick, we had to rewatch Top Gun last night. So we may go see the new movie this weekend. So
there you go.
And good morning to Rick Sherlock. Good to have you here. He's at security training, so he can't join in, but I hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend too, Rick. Sorry you can't join in with us today. So anyway, let's move out west. I don't know if your shirt today is a little message to who you think you'd like to win this series, but you're very high on Edmonton and their duo, obviously, as I said earlier before you came on, and I know I mispronounced one of the names for sure. But talk to us about let's talk about the Oilers themselves and this tremendous duo who you are saying. Maybe my context is wrong, but are you saying this is the best duo to play in the National Hockey League?
It's a play on words, but yes. I mean, the question mark, is it? I mean, the way these guys are producing in the postseason right now, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, Gretzky, Curry, Messier, all those guys could do it. Sakic, Forsberg, Mario, Yager. But to have two guys with 26 points to lead the league through 2 rounds, and what they're doing in each of the – I mean, Draisaitl in the last 2 to 3 games had 4 assists.
Yeah.
McDavid is just tearing up the record book. The fact they have Evander Kane on their line helps. I mean, I've never seen two guys on an offensive side of hockey, two forwards carry a team to a conference final. It's always like a team game. Yeah, last year Braden Point, Kucherov, all those guys, but it was always the Lightning team. It feels like the Oilers are just relying on two guys like we see in like other sports like the NBA, what we see with Golden State, where Curry and Thompson always go off, and it's those guys leading the way. Yes, Zach Hyman's playing well. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is there. Evander Kane. The list goes down. But it's like McDavid and Draisaitl are just on a different level from everybody else right now.
So going into this series with the Avs, is that an advantage for them or a disadvantage because they are doing, the bulk of the heavy work?
I mean, to me, I've always seen it as a disadvantage, especially what we saw in the Calgary series with Pavelski's line. If you could shut down two guys and make the other guys beat you or slow them down, I don't know if you're ever going to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, but make sure they don't average 3 points a game would be a start. McDavid didn't have his best game in Game 5, but he still found a way to get the game winner and end the series. Good players know how to rise to the occasion. But Colorado's got a deeper team than Edmonton. But again, to me, it's going to come down to who's going to play defense in this series because both teams can have a track meet. Like this could be video game numbers like we saw with Calgary and Edmonton. I mean, we could be seeing stuff like pond hockey right here because neither team can really play good defense. And it's who's going to get the better goaltending. I haven't really trust Mike Smith, and I really don't trust Darcy Kemper. But the Avalanche got there because of Kemper against St. Louis because he made big saves. Outside of Josh Manson making a big, beautiful kick save in Game 6 late in period 2, which was the turning point of that game. But I think they're there despite Kemper. I mean, Mike Smith's played great, but that's because he had rest for most of the year, similar to what Carey Price went through last year. So he's fresh. It's going to be a good series because you got McKinnon, you got Rantanen, you got Landeskog, Kadri, all those guys on Colorado, Makar, Byram on that side. Then you got Draisaitl, Kane, McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, Hyman, like all these guys on the other side. Something's got to give. Somebody's got to have to play some defense, and neither team should be taking penalties because both power plays are very, very lethal.
I think Mike Smith's kind of a fascinating story in this particular Stanley Cup playoff, and he's either been very good or it seems like the teams had to bail him out a few times as well. I mean, if he steps up and plays at his best, I mean, I would think with all the other stuff you talked about with the Oilers, it would give them an advantage. But the Avs are the Avs, and you can't count them out either until they're put away.
Right, exactly. They finally got over their hurdle, which was the second round. For the last several years, they couldn't get past the second round. Goaltending woes was their issue. Yeah, they got, some help. They didn't see Saros in the first round. Binnington gets hurt in the second round. Okay. But still, they beat the teams they needed to beat. They're past the second round of the playoffs. Could they roll into a Stanley Cup final? Let's see what happens. The expectations are there that Colorado gets there. I don't know. It's going to be a fun series to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
So from the network's standpoint, is it better for them? Again, I, as far as the Western Conference, I'm not sure that it really matters for them who gets in. Maybe you have a different opinion. But from the East, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up to me whether the Rangers are bigger TV draw or the defending champions and the story of them going for a three-peat. What would you, as a TV executive, want to see here in the final?
I wouldn't matter. Any combination of those teams would be good. Yeah. To be honest, I mean, you're getting star players playing no matter what.
Yeah, I would think that the Lightning three-peat opportunity would play better nationally than, say, because, hockey tends to be a very regional sport, and I don't know that people out in the Midwest or the West Coast are going to care that much about the Rangers being in the final.
No, I mean, but to have the New York market is huge.
No, the New York market, yes, for sure.
To me, I mean, I think the Lightning story would play a little bit better, to be honest. I like it. Just because I think the three-peat and the dynasty whole thing, and if we get and if you can have them going up either against McKinnon or against McDavid, that's a great story because either team's got to learn how to play some defense against this team. Say the Lightning do get back for a three-peat, right? Say they get there, if they get there, right? Those teams are going to be seeing different defenses than they've seen before.
So I'm going to predict myself a Rangers Edmonton final. So I got a feeling you're going the other way based on what you said earlier and the shirt you're wearing.
I mean, I personally don't from the West. I mean, it would be cool to see Colorado Tampa Bay in a Stanley Cup final just because I think a lot of people have Colorado there. But I mean, if I get to see McDavid play for Stanley Cup final, I'm not gonna complain.
So what else in the world of hockey is going on we should know about? I know the U.S. is going to have to play for third place in the World Championships. Anything else out in the NHL that we should be looking for or anywhere in the world of hockey outside of these great series coming up?
I mean, not much. I mean, USA is playing Czech Republic right now in a bronze medal game at the Worlds. They're up 3-1. They scored a late shorthanded goal. Carson Kuhlman already has 2 goals in the game already against Czechia. So, it's going to be, let's see if they can bring home a medal. It's a shame they played so well against Finland and just came up short, or else they would have played Canada in the final for gold at the Worlds. The USA has not won a standalone World Championships. I think Gordon Miller was saying since like the 1930s. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's interesting. A bit of sad news too, and Brian Marchand, Shan, from Boston being out.
Oh Brad Marchand has had a hip surgery. He'll be out. He'll miss the first 2 months of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what Boston does, especially, the way Krejci's been playing with Pasternak. Maybe Pasternak gets him to come back. Does Bergeron retire? Where does they lean there? So many questions in Calgary in regards to Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau, but both teams are both players are looking for to get new contracts. Calgary has started negotiations with both guys. I said it from the start. I think the big names that you think you're going to see out there may not be there because a lot of guys want to have unfinished business and don't want to walk away after having a sour taste in their mouth, especially Tkachuk and Gaudreau, and both guys like playing there.
Yeah.
So that's a team to watch. Just, obviously, where does Barry Trotz end up?
Look good in Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia fans are chanting his name, so we'll see.
Lot Winnipeg, Vegas. Like, yeah. Does Torts find his way back home? Does he get a coaching gig? So a lot of just coaching stuff up in the air. Free agency and stuff really doesn't kick off until July. So everybody's just focused on the hockey right now.
League's better with crazy coaches like Torts in the league. I mean, you got to have him. You got to have him somewhere. I mean, he's
exactly
good stories. A guy who's writing stories about the NHL. You got to love guys like him being in the league.
I mean, sometimes his quotes are a little much, but I like Darryl. But I love Darryl. So
yeah,
Darryl Sutter, his quotes are great.
Yeah.
He was talking about before the Battle of Alberta. He was giving a story about how the province was founded. And he talks about what is bringing people together, sport, music, and you look at it doesn't matter. You cheer for Edmonton, you cheer for Calgary, you're cheering for a sport. So I'm like, geez, the Darryl, man, this guy's great. The other night after the game, he's like, oh, do you think the best team won? He's like, the best player won the series.
It's funny too. We brought up the Czech Republic, so I will let Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, bring up Buffalo. He feels they need to get back on the Czech train where, that's where Buffalo was at their best, right? When they had, wrong post, when they had Hasek and all that crew from the Czech Republic. But I don't know if I don't know what it's going to take Buffalo to get back on track, but that's probably a story for another day.
Wait.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but he wrote Elias. Elias was devil.
And of course, Torts and Trotz need to just go away. So we'll give you your weekly top, and you want to add Torts in with Trotz. So you're going to mix those two guys up, Carlos, because they're very close to spelling there. So be careful. Well, Jim, listen, awesome stuff today. There's going to be some great series, no matter what happens in this Ranger final tomorrow. I'll be rooting for the Rangers, and we'll have lots to talk about next week as we'll be at least in the middle of these conference finals, and it'll be a lot of fun to see and a lot to talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah, the conference finals will be underway. Game 1 goes Tuesday night for the West. Game 1 goes Wednesday night in the East. So enjoy the hockey. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend.
one quick thing I got before you go. Alan mentioned before, he doesn't know whether it's supposed to be rink or meister, or is it master?
Master.
Master.
Rink master.
Rink master is what you prefer. I know that Rick had said you had kind of labeled him. He had labeled you both, and it's up to you.
No, I'm sorry. It's ring master.
Ring master.
It's ring master. Sorry. I apologize for that. It's the ring master.
And I thought Bill Pulver had labeled you that, but Rick is taking credit. I can't remember past last week much past.
It doesn't matter. They're all losing anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All good stuff, Jim. We'll see you next Sunday, hopefully, and we'll talk more National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, we'll see you next week. Enjoy the holiday. Thanks for having me on as always.
Have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Good stuff from Jim Biringer. Catch his stuff on Full Press Hockey for sure, guys. Some great articles. You like hockey, there's some great stuff. Great place to get caught up. It's where I go for all my news now. Since Jim moved over there, and it's been a great, it's a great place to get some information. So again, Ringmaster, correct. So anyway, good morning to some of you guys who I couldn't quite say good morning to. Bill Pulver, welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while. Your world travels. We never knew you are. You're our Where's Waldo character on the show. So welcome back to Bill Pulver. Good morning to Rick. I don't know how much he'll participate this morning. As he said, he's doing some security training, so let's not be lax on that. Good morning to Carlos, the Mad New Yorker. And I think that covers everybody that we missed good mornings for so far. So good stuff on the National Hockey League. Couple things, guys, before we jump into the baseball chatter, which we got a few things to chat about. We'll talk about we're going to go around the league a little bit. We'll talk about some of the stories around the league. We'll talk about Gil Hodges having his number retired, as I said, by the Dodgers. And I want to talk a little bit about his Hall of Fame induction coming up. And listen, it's been a long time that he didn't get voted in. Well, obviously, it's been a long time since he was eligible to get voted in the regular method. And the Veterans Committee, or whatever we call that today, finally votes him in after many, many, many opportunities. And I love Gil Hodges, great player, just not sure that he's Hall of Fame worthy. And if he is, I can certainly think of some other guys that are. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I want to talk a little bit about the Gabe Kapler story. And some of you guys, I'm already positive, will not like my take on this. But we're going to talk about it a little bit because it's impossible to ignore. I was just going to let it go, but we'll talk a little bit about it. Before that, I want to talk about the Dream Ride experience. Northeast Streaming Sports is going to be heavily involved promoting this on August 26th to the 28th. Great event, and it raises money for the Homeland Foundation, the Homefront Foundation in Farmington, Connecticut. And let's just watch this quick video, and I will be back in just, 30 seconds. We'll see you then.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
All right, good stuff there, guys. So, check that out. And like I said, I do believe we're going to take a ride down that Sunday ourselves and kind of see what's going on around the Dream Ride experience. So it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully the weather's good for them, and we'll see how Northeast Streaming Sports could be involved that day. Maybe we'll get together and do our shows from there on Sunday. Don't know. We'll be talking with Mac. From Mac and Jack Show, who's kind of our leader in these types of things, and we'll see how that all goes. We will be doing some shows from the from Connecticut for the Keep the Dream Alive fundraiser. I don't remember where they are now, but it's in Connecticut as well. We'll have more information on that. That's on June 27th You can check out the TGI Sports Talk page or Northeast Streaming Sports for the promos for that. That's a Monday, so it's going to be a little hard for some of you guys, but we're going to do some live shows from there. And Joe D'Ambrosio, who's the well-known ESPN figure, will be the MC that day. I'll be there, the Philly sports guy, Mac and Jack, and certainly all overshadowed by the great Jim Jeffcoat, who is a regular on Northeast Streaming Sports and a co-host with Mac and Jack on Sundays. So catch that out, and we'll talk about it. What do you got here, Alan? Of course, there's also a Texas-sized elephant in the room. What are you talking about? Be clear. You talking about your Rangers? Let's go around the league a little bit. And since Alan is just chomping at the bit to get to this topic, I'm going to skip directly to the American League West, where while the Rangers are playing better, the Astros continue to lead that division. The Angels have played very well, only 2.5 games behind, but now they've lost 4 in a row, 3-7 their last 10. Again, I'm a little concerned whether they have enough pitching to stay up here, but they were one of my picks to make the playoffs, along with the Astros and the Twins, who are doing well, and we'll get to that. But the Rangers are playing much better ball. I want to give Alan his due here. He's stuck by his team after a very, very poor start. They're now only a game under 500, only 6 games out of first place. I'm not going to do the math on the wild card, guys, because, 20 teams are making the playoffs now, or 24 teams, whatever the hell it is. Nonsensical number of teams making the playoffs, which we'll certainly dive into more as the summer goes along. But as Alan pointed out to me in a message, I think this morning or last night, whenever it was, that they've got one of the best records in Major League Baseball the last 30 days. Again, 30-day window is not the biggest, but I mean, I think there's only a few teams. I don't think I have the, let me see if I still have that open, Alan. I think I do. Who did Alan say? Only the Yankees, Dodgers, and Astros have more wins since April 30th. So, listen, kudos to the top, kudos to the Rangers. They've been getting some really good pitching from Perez, as we mentioned, and some others. Let me just pull up their page here a little bit as we talk about them. And I promised, again, we're going to dive into this a little bit, and then we'll go on to the rest of the league. Marcus Semien is really starting to play better baseball, I think. No home runs, starting to raise his batting average, but not, he has not produced at the level I think they would expect. Seager's only hitting 237. He does have 9 homers. Garcia's not been what was expected out of him. Who's the guy carrying this whole offense here? It's guys like Colt Calhoun with 7 homers, 17 RBIs, hitting 274. This team is not hitting well as a group. Garcia does have 29 RBIs, but he's not hitting, for average the way you would think he would. Nathaniel Lowe is their leader in hitting with hitting 325. The thing that has been carrying them recently has been their pitching. We've talked about Martin Perez here quite a bit recently. He's pitching great baseball right now. Only 3 wins to show for it. And again, wins you can't judge. You can't judge starting pitchers by wins anymore because of the way the game is played, which I don't want to go down that whole road. But he's got 7 quality starts. He's got 44 strikeouts in 58 innings. He's pitched really, really good baseball. And his ERA is 1.60. Whip well under 1. Well, not well under. 0.1. If 0.01 is well under, I guess that's well under. But Dunning hasn't pitched badly. John Gray is back, not pitched well, but they need him to pitch well if they're going to stay close here. So it's interesting that, there's nobody necessarily lighting this up except Perez. And Alan, you'll probably have a few more comments here as we go forward, and I'll certainly catch up with them if I should move on, because I know we do have a delay. Listen, the Rangers are doing it, and sometimes you can do it without big numbers and big people carrying away. Let's see what Alan's got here as we. It's got to be. Oh God! See, yeah, they're only 3.5 games behind the Angels. I get that. It's too early for me to be talking about wild cards and everything, though, because God, again, with the extended playoffs, it's just everybody's alive, except for the Reds and the A's, basically. Angels right now have the second wild card. Again, too early to talk about that. We can concentrate on division leaders, which still is important. But the wild cards, again, it's going to vary up and down. And there's just too many teams getting in the playoffs right now. Yeah, Simeon had his first home run last night, a grand slam. They need more out of him if they're going to continue this, though, Alan. I think you have to agree you have not gotten in 2 months anywhere near what you paid for here. Not even out of Seager. The offense has got to be better. I thought their offense would be fine. I told you early in the year, I thought the problem here would be pitching. Pitching has stepped up in that 30-day window that you're talking about. And as you say here, Perez leads the majors in ERA. So he's pitched very, very well. It doesn't show up in the win column, but again, you cannot judge starting pitchers by wins anymore just because of the ridiculous way the baseball is played in that regard today. Plus, Alan says there's a AAA guy named AJ Alexy, who they got as part of the Yankee trade for a guy I'll give you back for a bag of baseballs, by the way. Batted ninth for the Yankees last night, and that's probably one spot too high. I don't think. Oh, God. He may be called up soon. So you look at this team does need to play better. But again, wins are wins. And if you find a way to scratch out wins like the Rangers seem to be doing here, what was their record? They've won 4 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10. Again, tied for the most wins or in the list of most wins in the last 30 days. Again, how relevant is that? You can take a 30-day window too, Alan, don't forget. And any team, most teams, are going to have a good 30-day period at some point. If they don't, then they're really bad, like the A's and the Reds. The Reds have won 4 in a row, by the way, so we'll get to them in a little bit. So looking at the rest of the West, I mean, Seattle continues to be a tremendous disappointment. They have won their last 2, but they're 9 games out of first, 7 games under 500, and Seattle is one of the bigger disappointments. And we're going to talk about some of the bigger stories, both good and bad in baseball so far, in just a little bit. And I know I got to give Alan his due because we don't do a lot of this. Rangers make it happen with very little. And again, some teams can do that. This is going back to playing baseball the way it was played when I grew up watching baseball. Scratch out runs, play some good defense, find a way to win a game in a big spot, right? Clutch hitting. Mets have played that way. Their offense is certainly not clicking on all cylinders, and they found ways to win games, and the Rangers are kind of doing the same thing here. It's really been Brad Miller is another one who's kind of taken charge. I'm not a big Brad Miller fan, and he will fade as the season goes on. That's been kind of his MO in his career. He has these really good spurts, but he's not a guy you can play every day and rely on every day. So Seager and Semien have gotten better over the last couple of weeks. They do need to start getting it together, though. Hold on. What's this comment here? Seager has a great average in June. Well, again, past June's, yes. I don't know that we can count on that happening this year. So, I'm counting on what's happening now. They do need another hitter, and the pitching is where you got to worry. Yes, Perez has been good, but the rest of that staff is still questionable, and you're going to need it at some point during this year, Alan. A good point. And again, this is what's really bailed them out, both from on the offensive side and the starting pitcher side, is their bullpen has been lights out and done very well, especially in this last run that we're talking about. Rodriguez hit an HR on Verlander's first pitch. All right. Was that last night? I'm not sure about the reference there. So anyway, and the A's are the A's out west. So listen, the West is kind of progressing as we would expect. Maybe the Rangers will sneak into this race. Further, we'll see. Time will tell. Let's go back to the American League East. The Yankees still with a 5.5 game lead. They've taken 2 of the last 3 over the Rays. They did lose last night. Garrett Cole pitched very, very well. Got a bit upset near the end of his outing with the umpiring. And Garrett Cole's got to stop doing that, by the way. He just needs to go out there and play his game and not let bad calls take you out of the game. I talk forever about how officiating, and there's always going to be a bad officiating or umpiring or whatever we want to call it for the specific sport we're talking about. Don't blame umpires for losing games. Not that he did necessarily, but don't put yourself in a position to be affected by one call. Now, if it's Angel Hernandez, that's different. And you got 9 innings of horrendous umpiring. That's a different story. But the Rays are hanging in second place. Toronto's starting to play better ball with 4 wins in a row and 7 wins in their last 10 games. Still 6.5 behind the Yankees. And again, look at, I didn't disparage. I did disparage the wild card, I guess, a while back. And maybe teams don't value division championships the way they used to because everybody gets in. Well, it seems like we keep expanding the playoffs. We expand the wild card. It's no longer a 1-game playoff. I believe it's 2 out of 3. And I think all the games are played on the road for the worst team. Again, I got to look at the playoff format because the new ones we covered it early in the season and I've got to regroup on it. It's I hate spending time on it because we get further and further away from the way it should be. We play 162 games. For what reason? Pretty soon it's going to be like hockey in the NBA and half the teams will get in. Who the heck wants to watch that? The Red Sox slowly getting better, 7-3 again over the last 10. Pulled within 3 games of 500, still 11 games back though. But the Red Sox are still starting to get it together. And the Orioles, better than maybe expected, but still 8 games under 500. They are playing tough baseball and keeping teams honest, at least, playing some competitive games against some of the better teams in the division. I guess we're back to the Rangers here. They've been scored on the 8th and 9th inning. Team kind of they've been a score. Oh, I see. They've been a score in the 8th and 9th inning team, which, and again, the relief pitching keeps them in game. So I get that. Listen, Cortez has pitched well. Nestor's pitched lights out. We had a debate this morning in a 1-game do or die. Do I want Cole? And I had both Cole and Nestor available. Who would I pick? I'd still pick Cole. I'm sorry. I love Nestor, but Cole's got the big game experience. And some of it's good. I mean, last year, maybe not so much. But in the past, he's come up big in big spots. And I think Cole would still be my guy. And the Yankees, listen, this is an important time for the Yankees and the Mets, by the way. And we'll get to the Mets in a little bit. But this time frame, and so far the Yankees have weathered it pretty well, where they've got some injuries to Stanton being on the DL. And Chapman being, first of all, he was pitching awful. Now he's on the DL. Maybe most importantly, Loaizaga on the DL. One of the probably the linchpin to this entire pitching staff because he can pitch in so many different places in the game, or they use him that way. Anybody could be used this way, by the way. And when he comes in, it's normally a high leverage situation. Chad Green out for the year and longer, most likely. DJ did come back. That was an important issue as well now. And with the injuries and Joey Gallo back in a slump, he batted ninth last night. Aaron Hicks still stinking it up at the plate. The Yankees can't be carried, by two or three guys. Aaron Judge is just been carrying this team, and Stanton was before he got hurt, helping him out big time. But that you can't count just on those two guys throughout the year. They've gotten big hits out of Trevino. You saw the great game he had the other night. I think it was Wednesday night. Tremendous game. Yankees feet. No, I agree. I don't want to hear any more about Guardian. Hicks stinks, by the way. I don't want to. So you got a half a good comment and a half of horrendous comment. Aaron Hicks stinks. For all you guys who want to get all over Judge for not staying healthy, he looks like the epitome of health compared to Aaron Hicks. And when he does play, he produces. Aaron Hicks has had one good season with the Yankees and parlayed it into a long-term contract. And he is not. Listen, he's not a everyday center fielder on a World Series winning team in my mind. No, I don't think Guardy ought to get brought back, but Hicks is not the answer either. This team is going to have to go out and find an outfielder before the trade deadline hits. That's my take. I like the fact that they're playing Andujar more in left field right now. Let him, he had some trouble out there last year, but he never played out there. You get him in the lineup every day. The man's a doubles machine. And I think I can live with the defense, and I think he will pick it up once he's out there a while. The divisions are not balanced anyway, and so many more opportunities for first. I'm not sure what that means. Not sure about the context there. First place teams can always fail. There's another 20 for the Washington, Jerry. Yeah, I know. I wasn't even talking about football, and I got the Redskins in there for crying out loud. Oh, God. Facebook's going to hate me. Hicks doesn't seem like he's over Tommy John and needs. Forget about Tommy John. Hicks was no good before it. One good run with the Yankees. One. There's a guy they should not have wrapped up long term, I can tell you right now. Let's go to the Central. The Twins, who yours truly picked to win this division, has extended their lead over the White Sox, who are struggling big time. 4-6 in their last 10, despite having a good series against the Yankees last weekend. 5-game lead the Twins have over Chicago right now. And the rest of this division, I don't see the Guardians making a move. The Tigers, again, one of the most disappointing teams in baseball. Just cannot get it going. And then, of course, the Kansas City Royals, who seem to be perpetually bad here now. I hope you're laughing about Hicks, because I am. Let's go to the National League. I'm going to jump into some other stories here quickly, too, in a little bit. I'm sorry, the National League East, the Mets, 8.5-game lead. The Mets without their best two starters and the rest of the staff a bit in disarray, either with up and down performance or injury issues, have opened up an 8.5-game lead over the Braves. 7-3 in their last 10. There's a similar situation to the Yankees in the fact that they've got to survive, find a way to survive until hopefully Scherzer and DeGrom can come back, which will likely be July at best. But nobody's pushing them. They could play 500 baseball until then and probably still have a 5-game lead the way things are going. The Braves seem to think they can just flip a switch, and I guarantee you that is a bad recipe for success in this league. And the Phillies are the Phillies. Look at Joe Girardi's wound too tight. This team is wound too tight. This team is very poorly constructed. I talk about the Yankees being poorly constructed. At least their defense is better now. The Phillies have one of the worst defensive teams in baseball. And don't just look at the errors, please, and tell me whatever their numbers are, because it's the balls you don't get to. And now with Bryce Harper not able to even play the field, he's probably their best defensive player. He can't even get on the field. The Marlins beginning to fade a little bit. I'd like to see Donnie Baseball be able to get out of there and get a real job. This organization has just been a nightmare since he's been there. One playoff appearance in the COVID shortened season. I mean, I can't even count that, a 60-game season. All right, we got some stuff I missed here. Oh, I just want a couple, I guess. The Twins have the 5th best record since April. Look at the Twins have the 5th best record in baseball for the season. I want to say, well, not quite. Not far off, 6th best record for the season. Played great baseball. They need to stay away from the injury bug as well. So let's see if they can do that. And Carlos says the Mets won, but the Phillies pitching. Come on. No, the pitching, the defense, it's horrendous. Doesn't matter, Carlos, by the way. You play the teams that are put in front of you. You know, the Mets don't get to pick their schedule. This isn't college where you can schedule a bunch of cupcakes like like the SEC teams do, because I know they play such a tough schedule in conference. You can't pick who you play. The schedule's put in front of you. Here you go. Let's move to the Central. The Brewers, who are my World Series winners, by the way, just a reminder, are now 2.5 games ahead of the surprising Cardinals in mine. I didn't think the Cardinals would do this well, but these two teams are kind of battling it out. The rest of the division, no good. Pirates, Cubs, and the Reds, even though the Reds have won 4 in a row this week, played 6 out of the last 10 they won. This team's going nowhere for a long time. They need new ownership. They need a lot. And I love the Brewers. The Brewers got a couple injuries now to overcome as well, but everybody's going to have these injuries. One of the big stories of the early season, and we'll talk more about that in a second. You're not going to wait till September to bring these guys back, though, Carlos. You need to have these guys back in July and August and let them build up their arm strength for 2-3 months, not one, before the playoffs start. So, I mean, I understand your point, but McGill should be back sooner, and I like Tawan Walker. I really do. I like the pickup last year. He pitched really well the first half for the Mets. He's got some injury issues of his own, and he's got an injury history of his own. But the Mets could listen. He's going to have to step up. He's got to step up. Carrasco's going to have to step up and be healthy and be the pitcher he was before he got sick, even with leukemia. With the Indians, he was pitching very well. And then Peterson has pitched well in spots too. So it's possible they could hang in there. And they do need May back as well, because that bullpen is going to be very important going forward as well, because you do not have 5 guys in your rotation who can go 7 innings night after night. You're going to need that bullpen to be consistent. And out west, the Dodgers, 2nd best record in baseball to the Yankees, 32-14, 8-2 in their last 10, playing really good baseball. You know, for all the Mark Mancinis of the world, Mark's not going to be on today, so I hate to bash him in the middle of the show where he can't defend himself. But, I mean, look at there's no reason to say this Dodger team can't win. They have everything you need to win. They have good starting pitching. They have good relief pitching. They have good offense, despite Corey Bellinger's continued struggles. They would be the favorite in the National League, even though I like the Brewers to beat them in the NLCS and win the World Series. The Padres continue to hang tough. They have fallen 3 games back now. And the Giants, which we're going to talk about here in a second, they're starting to slump a little bit. We talked about it last week. They're 3-7 now in their last 10. They've fallen into just 3 games over 500. Their starting pitching has not been what they expected it to be. And it was a big part of their success last year was their starting pitching. And now you've got a little bit of a controversy with Gabe Kapler and the national anthem, which I'm going to touch on here in just a little bit. In fact, we'll touch on it probably right now as we finish up this division. The Diamondbacks hanging in there, 5-5 their last 10, just a couple games under 500. And the Colorado Rockies continue to start to sink a little bit. Still only 4 games under 500. But both of these teams would be a surprise to finish anywhere near 500 in my mind. Frank Lucchese's coming back. Sorry. Frank Lucchese was a manager of the Phillies and the Texas Rangers. By the way, Alan, you may not remember this, given your age. Frank Lucchese was punched out by Lenny Randle in spring training one year with the Rangers. Bet on Betts. Listen, that team is good. Mookie Betts is a great player. Last 3 quarters at a time. So I'm not sure what that means. Let me talk a little bit about the Gabe Kapler situation. And I guess I want to be careful how I premise this, right? I mean, there's been issues we know through the last half decade with the playing of the national anthem and players protesting. And Gabe Kapler joined his players last year, I believe, or maybe it was 2 years ago, in kneeling during the national anthem. But that was a different situation. And Gabe Kapler wants to make it sure. And again, listen, I don't agree with what they do here, okay? But I do believe that they do have the right to do it. I just believe they do. And when he kneels, he's decided since the tragic shooting in Texas last week, he will not be coming out for the national anthem when it's played as his form of it's not really protest necessarily. I guess it's the only word you can really use, but the fact that things are not, he doesn't like the direction that certain things in this country are going. And neither do I, by the way. And my guess is, I don't really know. My guess would be, I mean, most of us think that the people who kneel for the national anthem are of one persuasion politically. And we are not a political show. We're not going to go down that road too much. I can tell you that my political leanings are very strongly to the right. But I feel very strongly also that people have the right to do this. You don't have to agree with them. I don't agree with them. That's not the point. It's not a protest against our military. It's not a and Gabe Kapler, I want to stick to the Gabe Kapler part of this. This isn't a protest against our military, and it's bad timing. The optics are bad with it being Memorial Day and all. But he's made it clear, that I'm not protesting our military or this. I'm protesting this specific situation, and I don't necessarily have a problem with him doing it. The problem is the publicity that it gets. And again, but let me tell you something as well. When it comes to TV networks and other outlets that promote these things and fire people up, they're hypocrites as well, because, the whole national anthem thing, before people started kneeling for it, we never showed the national anthem unless it was the Super Bowl or the World Series. Not on national TV broadcast. You see them on your local broadcast, but national TV would go to commercial. So that shows you how important it was to them. So we'll talk about this a little bit. No, I'm not going to let it be. I won't let it be. What are we doing here? Sorry. Ex-Padre players on the Mets got hurt last year. Well, look at injuries are part of the game. You got to be able to overcome them. Should I ever bring up Tommy Pham and Jock Peterson? It is his platform. It's the only place he's got. I really don't look at and I seem to be one of the few people who can do this and be able to say it doesn't matter to me. The sports are what matter. if they start disrupting games and protesting and walking out, well, that's something different. And again, I'm not saying I agree with these protests. I don't. I really don't. It just, the world is a different place today. And I'm upset about a lot of this stuff. And I'm going to stay upset about it. But again, the problems are not going to be solved by, people, the extremes on either side of this thing going crazy. The problem is much, much deeper rooted. It's not guns. It's people. Other countries have guns and they don't kill people. That's brilliant. I don't know what that statement means at all. So I don't know what you're trying to say, Carlos, at all. I mean, that is the epitome of nothing. You just said nothing there. If I said it doesn't matter to me. It matters to them. And I'm okay with them doing what they want to do. You have that right here in this country to speak up. We tend to try to want to ignore things. And this goes on both sides of the aisle, guys. I'm the least woke person you will ever meet. Maybe not the least. One of the least woke people you'll ever meet. And the way we were going about destroying the history of this country and ignoring it and tearing things down is ridiculous, because when you ignore your history, you're condemned to repeat it, good and bad. Yeah, it's not what it used to be, and it's not good either, by the way. Most of it is not good. The changes in sports, you tell me what's really good about sports that's better today than it was. And again, I know I sound like the old fogey, right? And I know I sound like this every time I go down this road. Sports are not better today than they were 40 years ago. They're not. Babying multi-million-dollar pitchers, babying them. They don't even pitch the most important part of games. No. NBA players taking nights off when they come into a town one time and fans paying astronomical prices. No, that's not better. NFL football, where they legislate the violence out of the game. It's a violent game, and that's what attracts people to it. No. And I can come up with 100 things. I'm not going to spend an hour doing it. Doesn't matter. Okay, good. At least you didn't say it was better. Thank you, Carlos. Anyway, let's get back to some baseball. Let's look around. I want to look at a couple other stories. Some of the, I don't know. Where do I want to go here? That's a football story. I don't want to get into that yet. Well, I had some stuff here. Anyway, let's look into a couple of the interesting stories. And whether should the Braves be panicking starting at 20-23? Their pitching hasn't been good. They have been mediocre in every part of the game. Their pitching was much better last year, even when they were struggling. They struggled to score runs. They struggled a bit defensively. They are mediocre across the board, offensively, defensively, and pitching. And again, similar to the comments that Alan made earlier about Seager getting hot in June. I don't think you can just count on that just because he's always gotten hot in June or for the most part. The Braves can't count on the fact that, we struggled last year until July and then we turned it on, because the Mets are a better team this year. Better led, better culture, better management, players who buy into the system. And they're not just going to collapse, even with the injuries that they have. And they're not going to quit on their manager the way they did last year. So the Braves, to be able to think they can just continue down this road, and we'll pick it up eventually. Now, again, with the extended playoffs, they got an extra chance to get in. But this is a team that and again, they missed Freddie Freeman. Somebody's saying this, I think, right now. It's exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to guys like, and Aaron Judge is one of the big stories of the year as well. The Yankees and him, they could not come to a contract agreement before the season started. Their arbitration hearing will be coming up here in a week or so. I think it's a week or so. And he's most likely playing out his contract, and it's going to cost them, I don't know, probably between $5 and $10 million more a year if they want to retain him. And not retaining him has great consequences. Freddie Freeman is a great example of what can happen. Freddie Freeman is the face of the Braves. He was a leader in the clubhouse and on the field, and just more than just a player and what he contributes on the field. Aaron Judge falls into the same category, and you're seeing what happens when that effect comes in. So that's a great call by you, Alan. Hang on here. I wanted to check something out while I think are you talking about Kapler? I think are you talking about Gabe Kapler here, Alan or Carlos? I think you probably are. I doubt he's going to get fined. I don't know what MLB will do. I mean, again, I don't know. I guess if they're going to be consistent, Rob Manfred could probably do anything he wants. And I don't know. There's not been talk of finding him so far. Maybe it depends on how far this goes. Back to our conversation, especially if Judge gets into the MVP conversation. Gets into it? What do you mean if he gets into it, Carla? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you Carlos, Alan. What do you mean? I thought I was talking to him with when we're talking about Judge. He's in it. He is the MVP of the first 60 days. Or I guess we started late, so it's not 60 days. The first 40 games, he's the MVP. And I know you don't name an MVP after 40 games. I understand that. Yankees made a huge tactical error. Huge. And then they released the negotiations early, and that also was a stupid mistake because they thought they were going to turn the fans against them, and the Yankees are famous for doing that. They did it to Derek Jeter. They did it to Andy Pettit. They did it to Bernie Williams. So just, again, they deserve what they want. They deserve what they get. What else do I want to talk about here? Slow starts we talked about. The Giants pitching. Giants pitching carried them last year. They're 25th in the majors in ERA. This is not a good look. This is not a good look for the Giants, and it doesn't bode well for the future in this very tough division where the Padres have managed to play really good baseball without Fernando Tatis. Manny Machado's played well, but they haven't done well. They let gosh, I can't think of the guy's name now. They let Gausman walk away. And I don't think the Giants have done a great job, Andrew Bailey included, to keep this team. Last year, their bullpen ERA was 2.97. Now it's 4.14. That's a big jump from first to 23rd. But again, that's how bullpens roll, right? One year you're hot, next year you're not. Closers are the same way. Problem is the rotation. Carlos Rondon's pitched okay, but the rest of the rotation, Alex Wood, Anthony DeScafalino, or no, how do you say his name? Scalafini. He's on the 60-day DL now. They were brought back, and they haven't been as good. Alex Cobb hasn't been that good. And the panic's real here. This, when the pitching is as bad as this team has been, and somebody called it, and somebody from ESPN called them the prime plexiglass principal team. Everything went right last year. Everything. So if one thing goes wrong, everything blows up on them. They can still make the playoffs because I think, Rondon and Logan Webb have pitched well enough. But the offense is going to have to carry the load where they didn't have to carry the load last year. And he was able to mix and match his lineups. They probably platooned more than any team in baseball platoons today. But things have to go perfectly right for them to be able to continue down the road they need to go. It's bad when the Rangers have better pitching. That's a great point. I don't think they're forcing Judge to play center. Right now, he's playing there out of necessity. I don't think the Yankees want him to play center field day in and day out at all. That is not in their best interest or his best interest. And if you're saying they'll play him in center field because they're going to let him walk away anyway and let him, if he wears down, it's still not good for them this year. They need a center fielder. But I don't think that it ought to be Judge on an everyday basis. Can he fill in it? Yeah. The White Sox lineup. 24th in the majors in OPS. Last year, they're 4th. Despite, and again, we talked about injuries to the White Sox this year, but they had him last year. Jimenez was out for a long time. Roberts was out for a long time. I'm sorry, Luis Robert. I guess. I hope that's how you say his name. I should know. I just watched him play the Yankees. Grandal was out for a long time. They only had 2 guys play 130 games last year. Abreu and Moncada. This year it's worse. They've had some injuries this year as well, but none of these guys are playing as good as they played last year. Abreu's been atrocious so far. And again, their approach, like a lot of teams, is really, really bad. Now, let's not forget, Grandal is 32, I believe, and Abreu's 35 or better. It's hard to expect these guys to get better at this point. Huge issue. The Blue Jays line up the same kind of situation, 20th in OPS. This team was put together, and we thought this was a dynamo. This was a juggernaut that they put together, this lineup, even though they let Simeon walk. But they brought in Matt Chapman, and he's down 243 points from where Simeon was last year. The right fielder Hernandez is down 400 points. Vlad Guerrero's down 227. Tapia, who they brought in to play more outfield and replace Grinchuk, is 171 points below him. Bo Bichette's down 170. George Springer down 66. This is a bad sign, but is it a panic situation for this team? I don't think so. I think these guys will hit. These guys aren't guys that are, 30, like the White Sox have a bunch of guys in their 30s or maybe you can't expect to bounce back. So I don't know if the panic's real there. The Mariners, they got general despair there. One of the biggest disappointments, them and the Tigers, I think, in baseball. The kids aren't stepping up. Ken Giles hasn't pitched. They brought him in to fortify the bullpen. Castillo and Stockenbridge have not pitched well. Robbie Ray, who won a Cy Young last year, is like in the 50s in ERA. So should they be panicked for real? Probably. Some bad signs here for a team that was thought to be on the brink. Bad signs to be able to turn this around. Some of the individuals that have struggled, Wander Franco. Not quite as good as he was last year. Now, he's playing not bad baseball, but, maybe it might be a little bit picky to pick on him, but I just don't think he's been as good as we thought he would be at this point. Again, too early to panic. He's a kid, and he's still learning on the job, and I think he needs to, if the Rays are going to stay in contention, he's going to need to kind of pick it up. German Marquez. Last year in the second half, this guy had 6 wins and a 2.63 earned average, something around like that. This year, he's been atrocious for Colorado. He's in his 6th full season, and maybe last year's second half was an aberration. Cody Bellinger, coming off the worst season of his career and one of the worst seasons maybe any major leaguer's ever put up. Hitting 165. Right now he's hitting 216. I don't know that this guy is going to make it back. The biggest problem here is his strikeout rate has been atrocious the last 2 years. Awful. So this is a problem for the Dodgers. The Dodgers, I said before, are loaded. We're going to have to find out how deep they are because you got Cody Bellinger struggling and you got Max Muncy struggling, who plays a lot of different positions. And he's hitting just 154. He's drawn a lot of walks, but he's had virtually no power. I do think he will come back, though. Bellinger, this has become a trend. This is not just a slump. This is a trend. I think Muncy comes back. Let's see if we got any. You guys can certainly throw out any guys you like as well. He's bound to have a bad week. I'm not sure where that one comes in. Could always trade for a guy like Keita Marte. Listen, Marte's not had a great season either. He's another big disappointment. Starting to play better now. And I'd love to see the Yankees bring in Marte. I don't know if he can play center. Well, he can play center field on a daily basis. He plays it now, right? If I'm the Yankees, I'd definitely go after Marte here before the trade deadline. And I'd do whatever I have to do to get him. Or somebody like him. Because I will roll with an outfield of Stanton some days, Andujar some days in left field, Judge in right field, and Marte in center. And get Gallo and Hicks out of town. I mean, just terrible. Marcus Semien has a very poor start. Is starting to turn it around. Another guy who's definitely, we talked about Semien and Corey Seager, both off to bad starts, but the Rangers kind of weathering that storm. I mean, I guess if you told me they were going to be hitting what they're hitting now, 237 and whatever Semion's hitting, and only 10 home runs between them, and I don't know, 40 RBIs between them, and you told me that this team would be just a game under 500, I would have said you were nuts. But that's been the case. Some other good stories, though. There's some other good stories. I mean, the Angels have been a great story. They're a fun team to watch. They got stars in Mike Trout and Ohtani, right? They've got guys like Taylor Ward who turned into stars after not even being, in a conversation. Sandoval, one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball up to this point. Fun team to watch. The Twins, who I talked about a lot in the preseason. And they're an interesting experiment this year in baseball. They brought in Carlos Correa basically on a 1-year contract because he can opt out. It's a 3-year contract, but he can opt out, and he most likely will. Now, he hasn't lit it up either for the Twins, but it was a big, I think, psychological thing that the Twins brought him in. And he's just one of several fascinating players on this roster. I mean, number one's always been Byron Buxton. If he can stay healthy, we want to see what he can do. And he still might only play 110 or 120 games this year. But if he can get 120 games, this team will probably be in the playoffs. He can just do it all. And they've had some other guys that have stepped it up. The Mets. Now, some people will think, the Mets are just teasing me again like they did last year. They're off to a good start. They'll fold. They'll quit on their manager. I don't think that's going to happen. Some hitters. Who are the hitters in baseball that you just need to stop everything you're doing and watch them? You play in your bathroom breaks if you're watching a game with them on and your snack run, beer run. Juan Soto. Go back in the days and think when Darryl Strawberry come up, Reggie Jackson come up. Think about guys like that. Who are the guys today that you do that for? Definitely Aaron Judge. Definitely Juan Soto. A guy I mentioned earlier that we don't talk much about, Luis Robert. Hurt a lot last year. Playing some great baseball on a team that's not playing great baseball. But he's a guy that can do it all. I mean, he looks like he's built like a football free safety, maybe a strong safety. But he can run. He can hit. He can hit with some power. He hits in big spots. And his teammate, Tim Anderson, who's been in the news the last couple of weeks, obviously, another guy you have to love watching play. He's got a .393 on base percentage this year with 6 walks to his name. Exciting player. And I hate to say this one's a little harder for me because I've been hard on this guy for a lot of years now. Manny Machado. Well, maybe he's matured. But we're watching what likely is, unless his career just blows up now, a surefire Hall of Famer. He's got a chance to reach a mark that only a few other guys have hit, which is 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. He's on a pace. He's on a better pace than Eddie Murray was when he got to this mark. Wander Franco's another guy. On the mound, there's guys like Ohtani. You would drop everything to watch this guy play. Or pitch, I should say. Nestor Cortez, we talked about before. Right now, he's a guy you drop everything when he's pitching because you never know what he's going to do out there. He's a lot like Louis Tiant from the left-hand side in my mind. And there's another guy in the American League East who I think is the next great thing that you got to watch, and you haven't seen him pitch, watch him. Shane McClanahan from Tampa Bay. Another guy I love. Cole Calhoun in general has been underrated story with the way he's been playing. Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, it hit number 1,000. So if I'm going to pick two guys from your team, those would be the two guys that I would pick, Alan. And maybe Garcia. I like him, actually. He is, and again, he's got to raise his average. He should be hitting for more power. He does have 29 RBIs. He's played well. Let's shift gears here a little bit. And I want to talk about Gil Hodges. Gil Hodges, number 14, is going to be retired by the Dodgers, which it should be. Gil Hodges was a great Dodger. He was kind of the heart of that team, part of the heart of that team with Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella. And he had some great seasons. The question becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 great seasons. Might be able to stretch it a little past that. But a clutch hitter in the MVP voting every year, although he never won one. As great a player and person and manager, and again, player and manager are two different things when it comes to Hall of Fame voting. Let's not forget. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? He's been voted in by the Veterans Committee, so he'll be inducted this year, posthumously, obviously. Died tragically in 1972 on a golf course during spring training while manager of the Mets. But when I look at Gil Hodges, 370 lifetime home runs, 1,200 RBIs, 273 batting average. I mean, should he be in the Hall of Fame? Has the Hall of Fame become the Hall of Good? Very good? Or should he be there? And if he's there, why isn't Don Mattingly there? Don Mattingly, his numbers only aren't better than Gil Hodges because he got hurt. And his longevity was not good. But his numbers match up with Kirby Puckett, who's in the Hall of Fame. How is Kirby Puckett in the Hall of Fame and Don Mattingly isn't? And Gil Hodges is. Took Gil a long time to get in, and maybe Donnie will get in. But, I mean, think about these cases and how they match up. Right? I mean, look at Don Mattingly's numbers. He didn't have even the longevity that Gil Hodges had. And his problem was he got hurt. But over a 5-year period, even more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll give him 7 seasons where he averaged about 30 home runs, probably averaged 320 or 330, and drove in an average of 120 some runs. Then he got hurt. His career numbers are still pretty good. But again, the length, the guys who are compilers always make the Hall of Fame. The guys who are good for a short time, like Don Mattingly, don't make the Hall of Fame. Thurman Munson, they don't make the Hall of Fame. Compilers, on the other hand, guys like Al Kaline, these are great players, and I'm not saying they don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Even Yaz. Again, you go back and look at Yaz's individual seasons, he had about 5 great ones. The rest were good, but he compiled up stuff over a long period of time. Must have lost you guys. Talking about the old days. Anyway, I don't mean to, and I certainly don't want to besmirch the memory of Gil Hodges, great player, and he means a lot to those old Dodger fans. I know he does, as he should. I just don't know that he should be in the Hall of Fame. While some other guys are left out. That's all. Let's take a quick look around the NBA. I'm sorry, the NFL right now. What's going on that's really been interesting here? We'll segue into the NFL now. I'll tell you some of the top stories that I've been following here recently. We'll jump into some other stuff as well. Bear with me while I get to where I was. All right. One of the big stories, quarterbacks, star quarterbacks, skipping workouts, whether it be the OTAs or voluntary workouts. Aaron Rodgers, he's skipping all of these voluntary workouts. Not much of a surprise as he's done this before. He's 38 years old. He does have some new people, though, that he ought to be getting himself ingrained with. So I really think it is a story that he's not in camp for some of these things. I really believe OTAs are important for teams with a lot. Whether you got a new quarterback, whether it's for rookies, whether you have big changes in skill position players or linemen and guys who need to start working on cohesiveness. I think it's important that these guys get into camp. Lamar Jackson's another one. Now he's there. He may be there, not there out of protest, as he's trying to get a contract extension, or they're trying to get him signed to one, and he's not happy with some of the he's not happy with some of the numbers being thrown around. The Ravens are downplaying his absence. The team president said he doesn't think it's cause for alarm. He's pleased that he's out there working and on his own. And he's right. In a vacuum, he's right. It's not a big deal, skipping a few practices in May. But as I said before, some of these situations are more than what they appear. It's never good to have your leader skipping some of these workouts. Tom Brady never skipped these workouts. Aaron Rodgers consistently skips these workouts. Draw whatever conclusions you want to that. Same with Kyler Murray. Now we know that they've had a tumultuous offseason, Murray and the Cardinals, over his contract. But again, if you're the leader of the team, you need to be in these OTAs. Does not send a good message at all. What other good news do we have here? Tyler, Trey Lance taking over in San Francisco is a huge story as well. Let's see what we got here for a comment. Sorry. Dak never skips these either. I don't hate, to touch on this for a second, Alan, I don't hate Dak Prescott. I don't. I think Dak Prescott has shown in big moments that it makes me doubt whether he has what it takes. That special something. Your loss in the playoffs last year, while it's not totally 100% attributable to this one moment, I think it's indicative of the Cowboys as an organization, and maybe Dak struggles up until now to win big games. When he, on that last play, where he scrambles with the football, he's got to hand the ball to the official. Little things mean a lot in the NFL, and little things make a difference. Now, again, that's why going to OTAs make a difference. As a leader of the team, you're showing me something by showing up. So I'll give you that. So anyway, back to Trey Lance taking over. This is huge. Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be ready to play, most likely, as certainly not in training camp, and probably not when the season starts. So Trey Lance is going to have to be taking a big step forward. I mean, he was hampered last year with a finger injury, so he couldn't really play any more than he did. And he admitted that he wasn't the best version of himself towards the end of the season. And there's a lot of doubt in this league that Trey Lance is a guy who can lead an NFL football team to the promised land. We're going to find out a lot about him early on. Another big story, there's been a lot of talk with the Patriots on who's going to do the play calling on offense. And Bill Belichick's been very coy about this whole thing. And it might be Matt Patricia, and it might be Joe Judge. And it might be Bill Belichick. During the recent OTAs, Bill Belichick spent nearly 100% of his time working with the offense. He feels that he's got, with his son Steve and oh my God. Oh God, I'm forgetting. What the hell's my? Oh my God, who's? Gerard Mayo, Gerard Mayo, who got a lot of interviews this year for head coaching positions and also defensive coordinator positions. He thinks that the defense is in good enough hands with those two, although that defense needs some help, that he can spend more time on the offense. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And there could be a change in the direction of this offense, and lean more on the running game and less on Mac Jones. We'll see how that all plays out. And it's not like he hasn't worked closely with the offense in the past. It's just this has been a little bit different situation. I personally put the blame on McCarthy because they honestly shouldn't have been in that situation. Well, I understand that. Put the blame on McCarthy, and that's all well and good. But in that moment, Dak has got to know exactly what to do with the football. And that's a coaching thing, too. I'm not going to put it 100% on him. Those are the things you work on in camp and over and over again. End of game drills are important, and every little detail needs to be worked out so that when it comes up in a game, you don't think about it, you just do it. So again, I won't put all the blame on Dak. It's a coaching situation as well. The Patriots have a really good running combo. They've also got guys like JT Taylor coming off the bench. You still got James White back there. Going to be some good situation. I think the Patriots may lean on this running game a little bit more. Stevenson's going to be a bear, and Harris just needs to stay healthy. And it may be the way the Patriots go. And, these things are cyclical in football, right? It's been a pass-happy league for a long time. You still need to run the football to win football games. You need to be able to close out the clock. And you need to use guys right. And Alan, being a Cowboy fan, you know how important that is. You've got two good guys out there. Some quarterback competitions. While a couple of quarterback positions aren't totally decided yet, Carolina, who knows what they're going to do, and Pittsburgh come to mind. I think Pittsburgh will have a competition with Trubisky and Pickett. Carolina, I'm not sure what they're going to do. Darnold's got to be the quarterback right now. It's possible they're going to bring in Cam. We'll see, and maybe those two will compete. But there's definitely a full-fledged competition in Seattle, and probably not a good one. Drew Lock and last year's backup Geno Smith. God, if this is your situation, you are in dire straits in Seattle, in my mind. Yes, I do know Stevenson's an OU alum. He was fun to watch play, man. I got to tell you what, This guy slimmed down too. I watched him in training or the preseason last year, right? And it was like watching Robert Newhouse. And Alan, as a Cowboy fan, hopefully you remember Robert Newhouse. This guy was built like a freaking boulder. But I watched Stevenson, built like that, run as fast as any guy I can remember seeing. And then I watched him during the season, and he had definitely slimmed down. And he is just a really, really good player. Needs to hold on to the football. Had some fumbling issues last year, but I do want to see him step that up. What else? Kirk Cousins. It's a new day. Can Kirk Cousins seize the day and turn his career around a little bit? You know, he hasn't been an awful quarterback, but he's not proven again. Another guy who is not proven to be able to take a team the distance. You know, he's got experience working with Kevin O'Connell before, as he was the quarterback coach in Washington when he was there. So maybe that will help Cousins. But it is time for this guy. He's making like $40 million this year. And he really needs to start, you know, putting this into play. Let's see. What other stories that I have here that I wanted to touch on with the NFL? You still got the status of Deshaun Watson to be decided. Still facing 22 lawsuits, by the way. They have not gone away, guys. Civil lawsuits. And it might get some clarity soon. He's going to be suspended. It's just a matter of how long. I cannot see any way he's not going to get suspended. You got the Gruden situation coming to it ahead. You've got Washington and the NFL owners trying to get, Daniel Snyder out of town. You got the issues with the Rams and the Rams owner in St. Louis going through lawsuits. The Jaguars trying to get rid of the stench of Urban Meyer, brought in Doug Peterson this year, another important move. And then you've got the whole Josh McDaniel to the Raiders thing, and now them working out Colin Kaepernick. Listen, guys, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it here. Excuse me. But I did a vlog this week, and Carlos and I talked about it on Friday. This is, if this guy could be in the league and play in the league, he'd have been in the league all along. He can't play. Watch my vlog, make comments, and we'll be there. Let's see. What do you got here, Alan? We're still going to have to debate the NFC East at some point. Yeah, we should do that. I just think it's wide open. There's not a team there you can tell me is head and shoulders above everybody else. For different reasons. Everybody's flawed. Everybody. And that's why I think that, the team that comes away best coached could be the team that wins. Which is why I like the team formerly known as the Redskins as much as I do. But I liked them last year too. AFC West in general will be must-see TV. I agree with that comment, Alan. From top to bottom, the Chiefs are not going to fall backwards as far as people think. The Chiefs have reloaded pretty well, and I think the Chiefs are still the team to beat there. The Chargers are going to be right there with them. They made some big moves, and Herbert is certainly in the group of the next great quarterbacks. The Broncos bringing in Russell Wilson, huge move in the Raiders. We don't know. The Raiders are kind of a wild card in this whole thing. Well, I think he should be suspended for the rest of his career, but that's just me. 6 games is probably fair. 6 games is what Roethlisberger got. I was going to say in a similar situation, but it was only 1 allegation against him. So maybe we should take the 6 and multiply it by 22. And how many games does that come out to? See you later. We could possibly do that. Maybe we'll have a show where each person represents a team. Watch the NFC East show, by the way, just to promote one of the other shows on the network on Northeast Streaming Sports, Alan. If you're not watching the NFC East show, which Jamie Paggs, the Philly sports guy, hosts, check it out because he's got super fans, including himself, from every team in the division, and I think you'd find it very interesting. I think they're on Monday nights now. When I was kind of filling in and kind of pretending to be a Washington fan, we did it on Tuesdays, and when they found a real fan, I think they went to Mondays. So check it out though, and you can watch it anytime after it airs as well. I don't like, Philly. Look, Philly's done a real good job. Without a doubt, certainly bringing in Brown from Tennessee. Their draft was a good draft. It all hinges on Jalen Hurts. I mean, if you're going to give the Cowboys an edge here, the edge is at quarterback, without a doubt. The other three teams all have question marks, obviously. And to me, whichever team gets the best quarterback play, and that includes if these three teams below the Cowboys, if one of those guys takes a huge step forward, whether it's Hurts or whether it's Wentz or somebody else in Washington, and whether it's Daniel Jones, you can see big movement out of one of these teams if one of these quarterbacks steps up big time this year. We know you'll defend the Cowboys, without a doubt. Anyway, lots of stuff. I just want to throw some of that stuff out there real quick before we wrap it up today. The NBA playoffs continue. The Warriors were just dominant in the Western Conference Finals, winning 4-1. This team looks really good. I had picked a Warriors Bucks final. Obviously, that fell through, and the Bucks were knocked out by the Celtics in fairly convincing fashion the second half of that series. And we're going to have a great Game 7 tonight with the Celtics and the Heat. I think it's a tremendous matchup of teams. You've got a really deep team with the Celtics, well coached. You've got maybe a more veteran team with the Heat. Jimmy Butler I feel like he's on a mission. Don't forget Lowry with Miami as well could be the key tonight in my mind. And let's not forget, Eric Spoelstra is one of the great coaches who we don't even think about as being one of the great coaches. I went through his record here a couple of weeks ago. The guy's got, a tremendous track record and has had to be in the shadow of Pat Riley most of his career. And I think that you're going to see him step up big time. And I think the Heat win Game 7 tonight. After staying alive in the Boston Garden on Friday, I think they get it done at home tonight. And we're going to see the Heat and the Warriors match up in this NBA championship series starting next week. I think it'll be very interesting series. I think it'll be a very interesting series either way. Going to be fun to watch the Celtics against the Warriors or the Heat against the Warriors. I'll be honest with you. I've been picking the Warriors for a while to get to the final and to rebound this year with Klay Thompson coming back, even though he's not quite the player he was before. He's so important to this team. And they've had some young guys step up and fill some roles that needed filling. And Steve Kerr's, again, a really good coach as well, getting all of these egos to play and pull the same direction. So Alan's picking the Heat tonight as well, and Golden State in 7. I won't go. I think I would stick with you on that one. I think it would be a great series either way, and I will pick Golden State to beat both of these teams in 6 or 7 games. Probably go 7 games. I think it'd be very interesting to see these matchups. So anyway, guys, that's about all I got. If you got something quick you want to throw out, please, I'll play the commercial for the Dream Ride Experience again real quickly on the way out. Make sure you check out that event, and it's a really good fundraiser and a good thing to consider. Just donate what you can. If you can come down that weekend, I think you'll have some fun, and we'll see what we might do from Northeast Streaming Sports there as well. So, guys, once more, I want to thank all of those who did give their lives, paid the ultimate price for this country. And when we think about the things that we argue about a little bit, as far as respecting the flag and respecting this and respecting that, at the end of the day, it's not about disrespecting these veterans. These guys gave their lives so we can live our lives the way that we do. And civil protest, not civil disobedience, but civil protest is part of that. This is coming from a guy who, believe me, doesn't have a left-leaning bone in his body. So, guys, get out there, keep a little thought in your head for our veterans who gave their lives for this country, and enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. And we'll see you on Wednesday night with the College Football Huddle, a very special show where Mac McGrath will be on to talk about a major reconstruction of the NCAA. Wow, it will blow your mind. Talk to you Wednesday. See you next week on the Stream of Consciousness show. Have a great weekend, guys.